Greetings, friends. How are you? I hope you're fine and you are doing great and you're doing well. My name is Matt, aka Chava, and I'm doing great too. Now let's get on with it, shall we? In this lesson, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be teaching you and telling you the names of the different parts of the guitar, right? I think it's quite important for a person to know them, just in case maybe you have a problem with it, one of the parts breaks, or any of that stuff, or you want to replace it, those kind of things. So I feel like it's always good to be in the know. And they also they also have, I think they all have a purpose and in how the guitar functions. So of course you're gonna have to know some of the names and yeah, and be able to operate the instrument, right? So as you can see, the guitar is divided into this portion which is called the head, and then we have the neck over here, and then we have the body, right? And so there's different parts and on the body, on the whole guitar. And so I'm going to be telling you the names of these parts and their functions on the instrument, right? So we're going to start with the headstock. So over here on the headstock we have these silver knobs over here, and they're called the tuning pegs, right? And they are for tuning, so their function is to tune the guitar, right? Put it in tune, and so it's either you can twist them clockwise or anti-clockwise, to either make the string tense or less tense, right? So they increasing and decreasing the tension. And then we also have this, I don't know if you can see this blackish part over here. This is actually like, it's a hole of sorts. I don't know if you can see in the video, but if you can't, it's okay. You can just look at your guitar. So what happens in this hole is that there's a truss rod, something called a truss rod in there. It's some type of rod, right? A screw, if you may. Well, what it does is it stabilizes the neck, so that obviously it doesn't break easily, and at the same time so what happens is that when you're tuning the strings, right? There's tension that's happening here. So if you think about it, if there is a pulling, so the strings can pull the neck inwards, right? And think of it as something that's straight, and then it gets pulled in like this. So what the truss rod is, when you screw it in or out, is that it can put the neck back into a straightish shape and whatever. It will depend on what's happening with your guitar. You might have to tighten it, or you might have to loosen it. One of those two things, right? So we have those, and then we also have this is not part of the guitar, it's a tuner. It's a clip-on tuner, which you can clip on over here, and it has a screen over here. There's a video about tuning in the tuner, and so which you can easily see when you're tuning your guitar. So you can kind of like clip on your guitar on the neck, and you can, I see some people putting it over there, I don't know why, but those sort of things. Now next we're going to move to the neck, right? So the neck has different parts to it. So it has this small blocks or rectangles, whatever you may call them, and these blocks are called frets, right? And then we have these silver wires. I think they're called fret wires, right? Fret wires. And of course we have the strings, the six strings, and we also have these circular markers, right? So they call them markers. So the frets are obviously for placing, for locating the note. They remind you where each note is. So I mean, in all of this rather distance, what happens is, if you press the string at between any one of these 2 points, you're gonna get the A note, right? And then you place it here, you're gonna get the B flat note and the B note. etc. and so forth. So that's essentially what they are. And when you play, you place your fingers between the two fret wires. You understand? That's essentially how it goes. So the fingers have to be placed somewhere close to the front of the front end of the fret, but not on top of the wires, in between, right? And yeah, that's that. And then we also have these markers. So what they do is like, so there's a marker here on the 3rd fret, on the 5th fret, on the 9th fret, sorry, on the 7th fret, and then on the 9th fret, and then on the 12th fret, as well as the 15th, I think, and the 17th, and just the odd numbers basically. So what it does is that when you play, it kind of like, say maybe you're playing, let's say maybe you're playing something, and right, and it kind of like moves and comes here, right? So look at how that went. So we have these notes here, right? So you can kind of like remember that whatever note you're playing or whatever lick you're playing is somewhere around the 12th fret, right? So as you play, as you're busy playing here, right? So you can kind of like easily move between, right? Obviously, it makes sense to trust you, right? So that's what we do with the markers, and they also, you can also see them at the top of the neck here. When I started playing, I honestly didn't know before. I didn't care. But now I know and see the usefulness. Now moving right along, we of course have the strings. This is the low E string, the thickest one, the A string, the D string, the G string, the B string, and the high E string. I have a video on the strings, I think, so you can just go and watch that video for further details about the strings. Right, moving right along to the body. We have a body, you know, there's different types of bodies, and on the body we have these things over here, we have that, we have this, we have these, and then we have that, and we have this, and we also have this, which is something that I just put on there, right? It's not really a part of the guitar. As you can see, I used some press stick here, yeah, just to, it's for holding the plectrums, right? These little things that we're playing with, it's for holding those. These three things over here are called pickups. They're called pickups, and they're sort of like microphones. I mean, if I were to increase the volume here and kind of like speak into these, sometimes they pick up the voice, sometimes they don't, but there's some sort of like microphones, right? So they pick up the signal from, you know, when you play the string, electromagnetism stuff, physics, picks up this induction that happens there, picks up the signal to the amp, and the sound comes out of the amp. And then we have this, and it's called the bridge. So by the way, this is called the neck pickup because it's next to the neck. And then this is of course the middle pickup, and then there's the bridge pickup because it's next to the bridge, right? So this is called the bridge, and on the bridge, this is where the strings are held in place, and at the same time, this is where you adjust the height of the strings. You know, the height which the strings have, you know, in relation to the neck. So it's really important that you get the right kind of like height, because what happens if they're too high, they're gonna hurt you. You know, there's certain chords you just won't be able to play, and if they're too low, they're gonna buzz. You know, let me see if this guitar of mine over here. Okay, it makes a note over there, but I think one of those things. Did you hear that? That's a buzz. There's some issue there going on. I don't really know what it is. I never really play this note, so it's not much of a train smash, but there's definitely something here. Okay, the other ones work just fine. So yeah, that's what you do. So there's some screws here, and you use an Allen key, and you kind of like just place it in there and adjust accordingly. I mean, you can do your measurements and also just determine what's comfortable for you, you know, that sort of thing. And then next we have these three knobs over here, three knobs. So this one is called the volume knob. I'm not sure if you can see what's written here. Volume knob, the first one, the tone knob, and another tone knob. It's funny how when I started playing guitar, I didn't have this kind of video, so I didn't know what the other two were for. Like when I was playing and I was having fun, man, I would just pump them up. Pump them up for no reason. So yeah, this one is for controlling the volume that comes out of the instrument into the amp and stuff. I think it's quite straightforward. And this one is a tone volume and a tone volume. So basically what it does is it determines the thickness of the sound. Listen to this. Maybe let me play an A minor. Can you hear? It's somewhat muddy, right? It's like thick and whatever. But if I turn it, the sound is all of a sudden lighter. So generally when people play, just put it in a somewhat in between place. I don't really know a whole lot of people who like this muddy sound, right? That sort of thing. Maybe you do, but yeah, that's what they do. You can just tinker with them and see what you like. So this one is for controlling the tone made by these two pickups, and that one is for controlling this the tone from this pickup, right? So yeah, you can just decide how you want the sound to be, thick or thin, bright or dark, those type of vibes. And then over here we have what we call a pickup selector switch, and what it does is that if it's in the, it has 5 different positions, and if it's in the topmost position, it selects the neck pickup, and then in the second position it combines these two pickups, and in the third position it uses this pickup alone, the mirror pickup. What's the word? There's a fancy word of saying it engages, I think. And at the fourth position it engages it combines these two pickups, and in the last position it engages the last one, right? So that's more or less it. And then over here we have the jack input. You know, you basically just put in, this is called a jack, so you you know, put in your input in there. It's quite straightforward, and on some guitars you have it like on the side of the guitar over there, so it just depends. I always liked these type. It's one of my favorite parts about this guitar, that. And then at the back here we have, you know, you can kind of like open here, there's like springs in there for this thing over here called the tremolo bar, or the whammy bar as some people call it. I mean, what it does kind of like gives you this, right? So yeah, that's that with the acoustic guitar. And of course you have these buttons over here. They're called strap buttons for your strap, and this is the strap, right, or your belt, depending on how you call it. Excuse me, miss. Then you have that's a strap, which I recommend you use all the time, even if I'm not using here, because you know I knew I was going to be demonstrating and all of those things. Yeah, that's essentially that. I don't think there's any other thing that I've forgotten. So yeah, that's that for the electric guitar. And I'll very quickly do the same, you know, kind of like explanation for the acoustic guitar, right? With the acoustic guitar, so you more busy banging things into each other. So you more or less have the same things, like, I mean, on the headstock and on the neck, and so most of the difference is on the body, of course. Oh man, there isn't space here. Of course, on the neck we have the sound hole. We don't have pickups. Then we have this thing called a settle, or a settle, right? A settle, instead of the breech. Excuse me. And yeah, more or less. So we have these strap buttons. Yo man, where you place where you kind of like insert your strap, and then we have the input socket over there. And what else do we have that we do not have on? Its volume buttons are somewhat in there, and you also place the battery in there. And on some guitars, you have the volume stuff going on somewhere there, right? It has an equalizer sort of like section over there, and then again there's that thing for placing the plectrums. And of course, this thing over here that you're seeing here is not really part of the guitar. It's called a capo. It's for kind of like changing keys and reducing. You clip it on like that. I think that I have a lesson on how to use the capo and those type of things, right? So yeah, that's essentially it for this lesson with the different parts. Excuse me, but stuff just keeps on, getting banged onto things because there really isn't space. So yes, that's essentially it for. I wonder why I clapped my hands. So that's essentially it for this video. Any other thing? I guess you can just do further research, but I think I've touched on everything. And good luck learning the different names of the guitar parts. So that's it for this lesson. I'll see you in the next lesson, my friends. Stay well and take